You know, the whole key really, when you get around the greens, to have the confidence so you can actually visualize the shot before you hit it. But having practiced enough, you've got that feel. It's not something you have to think in terms of, oh, I've got to hit this hard or I've got to hit it soft.
Well, that's the whole idea, and it's a picture that you get from practicing. You know, you can't expect someone to go out there and haven't played for a while or something and expect to hit these kind of shots, which are really your premium shots on scoring. Just make it, you know, you can hit the ball quite badly, but if you're good in this area, you're going to turn a bad score into a good score.
I know you use a 60-degree wedge. This is very popular amongst the tour players now, the third wedge as it's called.
Okay, you can see with the 60 that I've tried to get the same amount of bounce as I do with the 56 here.
Right, so you can pretty much make the same swing as you were back there with a 60-yarder. From here, and the ball's not going to go as far, obviously, with a 60-degree more loft on it.
That's right, it's going to stop a lot quicker, too.
Much softer flight. I would say you're probably going to make the same swing that you did from 60 yards with the 56-degree sand wedge.
The same principles apply that I used on the 60-yard shot here. I'm going to choke down a little bit, nice and light grip pressure, stand a little open, not 2 feet about 6-8 inches apart, nice and relaxed with the forearms. And then one thing I'm going to try and do, Dave, is just take it back nice and low and smooth. Any kind of jerky motion that you have early on here will lead to either stubbing the chip or hitting it thin.
There's a very shallow divot. I mean, you're really just clipping it, aren't you? You're not really taking much of a divot.
Any time that the club digs into the ground, it's going to slow the club head down, and that's going to make it harder for you to control your distances.
Right.
All right, let's see if we can get another one close here. Well, there's a spin.
I recall when you broke the course record of Augusta a few years ago and shot 63, that you were pretty successful with your wedge, weren't you?
Really strange day for me, because normally I hit all the par 5s in 2, or most of them at Augusta in 2, and that day I didn't hit one of them. And the strength of my game was from this distance in. So that goes to show you don't have to hit the ball great all the time if you work hard from this distance.
Right, and we have to add that, so you birdied all 4 of the par 5s, so it's not necessary to hit every par 5 and 2 at Augusta to
Not if you use these clubs well.
All right, well, let's go up to the shorter one, the 30-yarder, shall we?
The only variation I have on this distance shot opposed to the other two, Dave, is that I come down the grip a little bit more.
Okay, this is for control, obviously.
Control, and also I'm going to slow my shoulders down a little bit. I obviously don't want to hit it as hard as the other shots. There's a little more finesse involved here.
But you're still, to all intents and purposes, making the same swing, just turning your chest through the shot.
Absolutely.
Okay, come on, I think we should play for lunch here, Nick. Come on, we haven't had any competition since we were juniors, so let's go for it.
Well, I can remember having a few lunches with you in the past, Dave, so... Okay, just nice and smooth. There you go.
You must be hungry.
That could be good for a hamburger or two.
Just remember, I haven't had a lot of practice, huh?
No excuses, please. One thing you've got to remember, Dave, is you've got to hit the 60 degree a little harder than you would normally the 56 degree.
Yeah, it just takes a little getting used to, doesn't it, the 60?
Oh,
well, that's close.
Don't feel too bad. You haven't practiced as much as I have recently.
Okay.
I'll have a nice bottle of champagne or something with that sandwich.
Isn't it amazing when you watch the pros on TV how good they are with their pitch shots? They seem to stick the ball close to the hole every time. The key is distance control. Now I'm going to show you how to get distance control. I've got 2 shots here, one of 60 yards and one of 40 yards. And with very similar swings, you'll learn to hit the ball different distances. What I see many amateurs do is that they tend to have a long swing and then decelerate. You have to learn to accelerate through every shot. Now, on this 60-yard shot, what I want you to imagine is this. Think in terms of turning your body at 60 miles an hour. What this will do is control this club head speed through impact. So, 60 miles an hour should produce a 60-yard shot. 40 miles an hour should produce a 40-yard shot, and so on. So now, in setting up to the ball, put the ball about in the middle of your stance, a little more weight left and hands ahead, and your feet should be just a little bit open to allow you to get through towards the hole. Now, think in terms of 60 miles an hour. what this will do will control the length of your backswing. So 60 miles an hour will send the club back a little further than, say, a 40 mile an hour swing. But this speed, if as long as you keep the same tempo, will produce the different shots. So let's see here. Here's a 60 miles an hour swing. And now we'll walk up and play the 40-yard shot. Now what I'm going to try to do here is to maintain the same tempo, but now in terms of the 40-yard shot, I'm going to move my body at 40 miles an hour. And you'll watch, the club won't go back quite as far, but keep that same tempo. So remember, 40 yards, 40 miles an hour. So remember, control the length of your swing with the speed of your turn. And controlling the length of the swing and the speed of your turn will control your distance. So 60 yards, 60 miles an hour, 40 yards, 40 miles an hour, and so on. Work on those speeds. Your distance control will be great. Now, if you want to really get good at this game and cut lots of shots off your score, you want to get good around the greens. From 40 yards and in is an important area. Many golfers don't have the sensitivity or feel to hit shots certain distance. They don't know how hard to hit the ball. Now, I've developed a little game, a little drill, which can really help you to do this. Now, what I've done, I've got a stretch of turf, 40 yards in distance, and I've laid a towel out at 10 yards and my umbrella at 40. Now, the idea with this game is to make sure that the first ball finishes just past the towel, then progressively hit each ball a little further. As soon as you hit one shorter than the previous shot, then you're out of the game. So the key is to see how many balls you can get between the towel and the umbrella. So let's have a go. So the first one should just finish just the other side of the towel. All right, that's pretty good. Now, to develop my feel, I've got to obviously hit the ball just a little harder, which means I'm going to swing the club back a little longer for each one, but I must make sure that the ball finishes just past the previous one. It's amazing the feel that you'll start to develop. You'll know how far and how hard to hit, say, a 10, 15, 20, 30-yard shot and so on. And it's a lot of fun if you do it with a friend, because then you can challenge each other, have little matches, maybe have a little money on it, and that's the way to practice your short game. So keep practicing these shots. Work with this drill. It's something you can just go down the side of your practice area and work on. As long as you've got 40 yards, pretty much a flat area, it's an easy drill to work on. This delicate shot out of the bunker is not nearly as difficult as it appears. Let me help you take the fear out of bunker play. Watch these tips. Bunker shots can be problematical for golfers at the best of times, and none more so than the short little shot here. This is a tricky one because I've only got a few feet to actually get out of the bunker and a few feet to run to the pin. Now the problem here is that obviously we want to accelerate the club through the sand, but at the same time we don't want the ball to go too far. The sort of thing we see is this. Golfers set up to it and have a very short, jerky swing, trying not to hit the ball too far, and as a result, a lot of times don't even get out of the bunker. So what we have to learn to do is have what I term controlled aggression. We want a fairly long swing, and yet we only want the ball to go a short distance. Well, how do we do this? Well, I'm going to show you right now. First of all, what you want to do is to set yourself a little bit more open than you would for a normal bunker shot. So on a very short one, set yourself at least 45 degrees open, where on a regular bunker shot you'll probably be only about 30 degrees. Keep the ball forward in your stance. Now the big key is once taking your grip here, Make sure your right hand is well on top, what we term a weak position. If you like, the V formed between your thumb and first finger, looking almost at your left shoulder. This will help to keep the club face open through the shot, and the more open it is, the more aggressive you can actually be. If it closes, you can't be aggressive and you'll probably hit a poor shot. Now, the big key here is rhythm, and you need to make sure that you have a fairly long swing. Too short a swing, you lose rhythm and you jerk at the ball. So have a fairly long swing, and you control the amount of acceleration by the length of your follow-through. So you have a fairly long backswing and a fairly short follow-through. Now with a little practice, you'll see how you can actually accelerate the club through. The ball will come out very softly and not run very far. So let's see how we do it. So 45 degrees, ball forward, a weak right hand right on top. Now the face is fairly well open, and I make a fairly long, lazy swing with a fairly short follow-through. Now, that's the way you see the pros play it. It's a fairly long swing, very rhythmical, and yet the ball only goes a short distance. So remember, you can trust this if you go back far enough. If you go back too short, you have to jerk through the ball. So let's try that once more. So, right hand right on top, and a fairly long swing, and a short follow-through. Now with a little bit of practice, you can be good at these short bunker shots too. Now don't worry, I'm not missing the ball. I'm only practicing hitting the sand. What I'm trying to do is actually hear the club bounce into the sand correctly. And that's really important. I've always maintained that you can hear a good bunker shot. Now, if the club enters the sand correctly, and the back of the club enters the sand first, in other words, we use the bounce of the club correctly, you're going to hear a certain splashing sound. Now many golfers, if you listen to this sound, this is what we hear. Thud, because they're sticking the leading edge into the sand, and that doesn't keep the club head accelerating through. On the other hand, we also hear this. No sound at all, basically, because they're not making contact with the sand at all. So the fact is, you've got to learn to get the club entering the sand at the right angle. Now just practicing hitting the sand is a great drill. So simply making your swings, hearing that splashing sound, taking a fairly long divot, swinging it nice and smoothly will really help you to get the ball out onto the green very easily. So instead of focusing purely on mechanics, what you're doing is using your auditory sense in order to help you to get the ball out onto the green. Now obviously you can only do this in the practice bunker. You're not allowed to do this on the golf course, but it's a great way of feeling the right contact with the sand, which I believe is so important. So the less sand you take, the better. You want a nice shallow divot, a nice clip there, it's like you're spanking the sand. If you can do that and achieve that sound when the ball's there, I'm sure you're going to find you hit a lot of good bunker shots. So let's see if we do here. So now I've got that sound in my mind. Okay, off we go. There you go. So I've got the same sound. If I can do that, I'm going to hit good bunker shots. Practice makes perfect. Now I've hit a pretty good shot to get to this point, and in order to save my par, I've got to learn to chip well. Now I'm going to give you a couple of super tips to improve your chipping.